That was yes.
That was just a two. Opposed? Aye. Opposed. Five opposed. Motion to table fails. That's the main motion. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion? Aye. Aye. Opposed?
I think we're going to need to have
Individual vote.
yeah, because we're not, we need to capture the vote here. So you want to just do a roll call, just to call out the names?
On the original motion, Mr. Button?
Abstain.
Mrs. Forrester?
In favor.
Mr. Galida? Mrs. Gilmet?
I abstain.
Mrs. Johnston?
Abstain.
Mr. Lodbrok?
Yes.
Mr. Myers?
Abstain.
Mr. Richard? And Mrs. Schramm?
Yes.
5 abstentions, 4 yeses.
Motion passes. Thank you. Guess we're at old business.
Our finance committee met before this meeting. We discussed a few things, one of which is the possibility of having a pay to participate fee for activities. We would, it's up for discussion at this point. I don't know if Anthony or Doug want to elaborate on it at this point.
The Finance Committee began to look at the notion of an activities fee. And an activities fee would be something that would be charged to students who participate in any extracurricular activities or in athletics. And it was something that this board was reluctant to look at last year. As the year went on, we were not able to use anticipated revenues from an activities fee as part of the numbers that are necessary to craft a budget. However, if this board decides within a reasonable amount of time, somewhere by the end of January, that they would like to include some form of an activities fee, it can be cast into the budget as anticipated revenues. It does not become part of the tax levy, and we could use it to help defray costs of our extracurricular and athletic programs. The Finance Committee is looking at 2 particular versions of an activities fee. One that would be a flat fee that was charged to any student who participates in as many activities or sports as they would like to participate in, and another one that looks at the costs of each individual sport and club and asks students to pay 50% of the cost of that particular sport or activity. So, did that sum it up?
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
How is this going to be decided? Is that among the board that folks are taking and decided upon? Completely.
What do you think?
Just because this makes me think back to what Mr. Button had said about making us as competitive as possible as, I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name.
Dr. Crumbs.
Dr. Cummins had said. And I know Charlie and I are both in the application process, and for each school, it's really important that you have the extracurriculars and you have the sports, and I think it's unfortunate, and I know with economic times, especially from personal experience with what's going on in my home, that times are hard, but if you put this out there in the community, I think it's almost putting certain kids at an unfair situation because not everyone's going to be able to play, and I understand that life isn't always fair and that there are certain steps that we need to take. But to limit kids with what activities they can do is not only going to be hurting them now in the school, but it's going to be hurting their future when it comes to applications and it comes to colleges. And I understand that we need to take steps, but I think doing something like that, there needs to also be thought of ways that the community could pay for kids who don't have the money. Personally, I'm on the fencing team this year, and there's a girl who does not have enough money to pay for the equipment. So as the parents group has paid for her so that she's going to be able to participate, but if she also had to pay to actually fence, I could see a lot of kids not being able to come out for those sports and not being able to put themselves above the other kids in other school districts. I know that we have to make measures and take steps, but I just see that this would be a great disadvantage for the kids both at Mendon and at Central.
I'd like to follow up with Madison, if I may. I completely agree with what she's saying. I think one of the strengths of our district has been the extraordinary extracurricular program, both in athletics and activities, which is not, I mean, we're all competitive. We like to see our teams win, but frankly, it's more important to have our kids participating. And I think one of the strengths of this board has been that we have been able to create, where there's an interest and a need, new activities for our students, regardless of the cost. I think that this is a hidden tax on our taxpayers, and we've supported these activities for over 50 years. I think it's unfair to start to charge for them now. I also think that there is talk that it's going to be judged to be illegal as of next year, and that this will be moot anyway because you won't be allowed to do it.
I'm going to agree with the previous two speakers any stronger. I would absolutely not support any attempt by this board to impose taxes, further taxes on the parents only of this district.
Yeah, no, I guess I'm just going to have to agree. And also ask questions. If it were a flat rate, how would that rate be decided? Has there been any discussion on that, or is that for discussion if it's brought to the table?
That's for discussion also.
Okay. Yeah, no, I just, and I agree with what Madison has been saying about it's not always fair, and we are in hard economic times, but I believe that every student in the district should have an opportunity to participate in the sports he or she wants to, and understand some sports are far more expensive than others, and I mean, depending upon whether or not that would put into effect. I know specifically I pole vault, and I don't think I'd be able to afford 50% of what it costs to do that. So I don't know. I'm just gonna have to agree with what's in the general concession at the moment.
Well, there's another perspective. Having a daughter that does dance, that I completely finance because it's not offered here, and I finance it at a significant expense. Does that go into consideration when you calculate your flat user fee? I'm already paying many, many times what that user fee would be to participate in something that's not even offered. So I would have to pay again for her to do marching band and relay and all those other things too.
Any other input? The purpose of broaching the topic is to get input from the community, and this is one great start. Thank you. Any other old business? Doug?
Just a quick update on solar panel progress. We have, by January 15th, we should have most of the schools online. Central's made a lot of progress over the last month as far as the physical installation of the panels. Here at Mendon, panels have been in. They've just been working on the details of connecting the panels actually into the building, getting some metering devices put in place as required by the energy company. So that's the status of where the solar panels are at this point in time.
Do you want to report on the Green Committee?
That's what yeah, Kristen Forster and myself were invited to come to a meeting at the Washington Township Ad Hoc Committee for Green Initiatives, and we were really the main event initially, anyway, because they wanted to find out what we had been doing as a district, and we've done quite a bit over the last decade as far as energy savings. We've implemented a lot of different things, and we reported that out to them, and they're interested in having a representative from our district participate in their ongoing initiative to explore ideas that they could hopefully maybe share resources between municipalities and the school district. Is that relevant?
It'll alternate depending on their need between facilities.
Business administrator and board
business
president.
right.
Yes. I'd like to readdress the National Honor Society timing that came up in the previous meeting. Our family has an informal relationship with the university, and I was able to make some informal inquiries as to their reaction. Their thoughts on us moving the induction ceremonies through October, November, so that they weren't necessarily available at application time. And I don't feel at liberty to quote the institution, but I feel like I have the liberty to communicate the message. And they felt that it was beneficial for the candidate to have the National Honor Society